a high spirit wind lawyer of the GMS Mississippi Camp. Giving all honor and glory to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai, Bahashur Kahakudas. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, as well as peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Today I want to get into how the natural world saves us, man. Now, ultimately, Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai saves us, but just the planet that he created, his original intent for things, man. When you tap back into that, it saves us, and how these first world privileges, all right, has actually harmed Israelites way more than it has helped us. Now, I stay in the South. I stay in Mississippi, particularly Jackson, Mississippi, and it's a city where there is no 24-hour public transportation. There is public transportation, but it's not 24 hours. It's a city where you have to have a car. If you don't have a car, all your money is going to go to Lyft. So that's basically another car note. Now, Uber or Lyft. Now, the average Mississippian, the average American, the average person under the Bible Belt is overweight. Okay? They're overweight. But going back to the topic, the natural world saves us. Certain people cannot afford cars. You know, there's also a city where it's just not a whole lot of job opportunities. Most likely it might be in a warehouse or, you know, fast food joint as far as their employment, unless you have some type of skill, of course. But so with that being said, some people don't have vehicles. And there have been times where I didn't have a vehicle. But you know what I had to do? I walked everywhere. I walked everywhere. And what you'll find out that is beauty in that struggle. It's hidden gems in certain things in your life. Okay? And this is another reason why people from blue zones, they outlive Americans by far. Because they're in certain parts of the world, the average person does not own a vehicle. So they walk everywhere. But technically, everybody owns a vehicle. Because your two legs are vehicles. It's a vehicle. Your body is a vehicle. All right, so the first vehicle you have is your 2 feet. Then your fuel, your engine fuel, all right, is the food that you consume. So just like a vehicle, if you stay stationary all the time, you can start to decay just for being stationary. I have to go back into the story. It's been years since I got into the story. But if I recall correctly, Nelson Mandela was in prison 27 years. But some of his comrades went to prison too. But some of them died. A lot of them died because they did not exercise when they were in prison. So I guess between the prison food and the lack of exercise, they died prematurely. And a lot of Americans are ultimately dying because of their diet, and they don't walk. This earth was made for you to walk. You know, in Jerusalem, in our homeland Jerusalem, how many accounts can you recall when people walked? Yahushua did a lot of walking. The disciples, along with Yahushua, did a lot of walking. I know in this world, most of us live in the metropolitan area. So, and we have to go across the interstate to go to work. So a lot of us can't walk in that sense. So we have to use other ways to walk, like a park, the gym, you know? And it's actually therapeutic when you walk. Some days I go without walking unintentionally. I let the matrix get to me. But hey, the scripture says, better to be sound in strength than have gold and silver. Health and a strength of body is better than gold and silver. I'm roughly quoting Sirach 30. Okay? So the natural world will save us. When you go to the grocery store, most of these grocery stores are corporate owned. And about 95% of the items within the grocery store are genetically engineered. It's made in a laboratory. It's pre-cooked meals. All right? Now, where's a pre-cooked meal in nature? But I'm going to give a balance. You know? Convenience. Sometimes you go through the hustle and bustle, you got to just whoop that pre-cooked meal out. I understand if that's done, because we go through the hustle and bustle. But the earth was designed for you to take that produce. You know, Jake might go fishing, or Jake get that fish, you got to skin the fish. But now you can buy, you know, pre-scaled, you know, from a butcher. But the point is, the earth was designed, the Most High had to set up since we left the garden to prepare food, man. Since the end of paradise, which is after the flood, you prepare your food. You know, you can lose weight just from preparing your own food, just from meal prepping. Hey, the water Yahweh, just from meal prepping, man. You can prepare your own. You can lose weight and have better health just from meal prepping. Just understanding that 70% of your diet is supposed to be produce. You know, it's supposed to be plant-based. But I mean, look, the earth. Once you tap back into earth, that's what helps you when you sick and you go into those herbs, man. You know, or you do like Elam does, or Moab, and you just take herbal teas in general. That naturally strengthens your body, and it decreases the chance of you getting sick, or it helps you accelerate faster if you do get sick. You know, because America is out of alignment with the planet Earth. So as out of alignment, most of us are not getting things straight from nature. So what does that do? What happens if you feed fish flakes, man? They might not live as long and be as healthy as fish that you feed with worms and blanched zucchini. Nah, when you eat your food from your natural habitat, of course you live longer. And we can't go back to how we ate in the garden, but it's good to understand that in the beginning we ate fruit. That was our main source. People think food is burgers, fries, or something you pull out the freezer section in the grocery department. Food is produce. That's what the earth naturally produces. And if you go back to that mindset, you will be healthier. You know? And after the flood, we were permitted to eat meat. But alongside with that, you have to understand the enemy to life itself is processed food, or what they call ultra processed food. Hey, Shalom, brother. Yeah, man, God. But the enemy to the body is processed food. That's the cancer. That's the cancer. When you process it, that's the cancer. That's the enemy to the body. Where is Skittles? So that stuff has gelatin in it anyway. Where is Skittles in nature? Where is French fries in nature? You know, now you can skin sweet potatoes or whatever and pour a little oil on it and throw it in the oven. You can pan fry it, whatever, with a better oil. But the point is, where's McDonald's in nature, man? This is a cancer. And you know, we've seen all these gangster movies, these big meat series, and how many American gangster documentaries you have where the gangster was the drug dealer. He eventually went to prison. Or how many Jakes do you know that went to prison for marijuana or cocaine or whatever? Like, yeah. for selling the CIA's drugs. Of course, it's illegal. You go to prison. We get it. But who arrests the owners of McDonald's? Who arrests the owners of Big Pharma? That's a fucking drug. Like, the Western world is under a dark vibration. It's a dark, gloomy, sick vibration because everybody is eating lab food, and you're just like a lab rat just eating lab food. All right. Scientists did an experiment where a rat, I think the rat ate, was it milk? The rat drank milk? No, the rat ate something. It was like a natural food. Then they put it in a tub full of milk to see if it would find its way out the tub. And it easily found its way out the tub. But as soon as they fed another rat sugar, it was so discombobulated that it couldn't swim its way out of the tub. The sugar was destroying its brain. And scientists had concluded that Alzheimer's was basically diabetes in the brain. You know? And a lot of Americans have poor blood circulation problems due to eating these processed meats and this dairy, you know? And what happens is if your body is not compartmentalized. So if your arteries are clogged up with plaque, or what Dr. Saber will call mucus, that's gonna thin out your blood flow. But what's inside of your blood? Oxygen. Blood carries oxygen throughout your body. So if your arteries get tiny and they get clogged up, that's poor oxygen flow to your brain, to your heart. You know? You see? So a lot of these little diseases that we think is just hereditary, no, the thing that's hereditary, the thing that's been passed down from generation to generation, was that low vibrational diet, the demonic diet, where the brain likes it. Esau scientists engineered the food to where the brain is manipulated to really like it, but it becomes a poison as soon as you consume it. You know? So going back to the topic, the title of the lesson, the natural world, it saves us. When you take herbs, that's from the natural world, lesson Sirach 30, medicines come from the ground. Wisdom of Solomon 7, it talks about the virtues of roots, or the healing powers of roots. Now, who was taught this in grade school? Who was taught this from kindergarten to your senior year in high school? What's the point of making A's and B's if by the time you're 14, 15, you are a pre-diabetic? You're making A's and B's, but you eat chocolate milk from the cafeteria. This box square pizza in the cafeteria. There's a vending machine full of poison within the school. A cheerful and a good heart will have care of his meat and diet. You know? In the King James, in the 1611 King James, the footnote there for cheerful, it's a noble heart will have care of his meat and diet. Have care of his meat and diet, man. You know? So, you know, we live in a very dark, gloomy state, man. But sometimes the beauty is in the struggle. Because my mom grew up in the country. She's a baby boomer. She said when she was little, they mostly had to eat fruit, vegetables. They slaughtered their own chickens. The only thing they did wrong, hindsight, was cooking in the wrong grease. But people were healthier back then. And I remember this story. I remember the story of my mother's generation, like the baby boomers. They all left the country and eventually went into the city. And the city had the McDonald's and the Burger King, man. My late grandmother, she told me the story of when McDonald's first came to the Delta, basically. When When they first had, and the line was packed to the end of the streets, to the end of the street. So, but that was the hindsight. That was the drug dealer setting up shop. That was the trap house, serving out the window, serving out the motherfucking window, man. And then what happens is people love their kids, their children, and through love, they believe that they're giving their children love when they get them name brand Cokes, name brand food, the Coca-Colas and the gummy worms and all this colorful, glittery, sugary candy and the cereal that comes with a toy inside. The Happy Meal comes with a toy inside. Yeah, the toy replaces it's compensation for the lack of nutrients that kid is about to consume. Then you turn around and put that child in front of a game all day, man. That's a druggie. That's a fucking druggie, man. You know? And the child is not active. You know, we live in a generation where the children, the people in our generation is unhealthier than their parents. You got women that's in their 50s. They're working in these factories and these warehouses, and their daughter in the same warehouse. Or they have a daughter, and it's like, damn, she looks better than her daughter. Daughter 23 with a baby and a body all bad built. But the mama in her 50s is like, damn, mama, you know? But you can't live off artificial food. You can't live off processed food. You can't live off, you know, eating bullshit, you know? But that's pretty much the point. I gotta go and tap in. But with that, I hope you were edified. Till the next time, Shalom.